Hey guys, today I'm going to be ranking books 1 through 4 in order of best to worst. First of all, to be clear, this is all my opinion, but it's also based off of how well I think each of the books was made. And secondly, I don't think any of the books are bad. In fact, I think they are all some of the best animated content we have gotten in the past 10 years, but I do think that some of them are better than others, and that's what I mean when I say best to worst. Also, keep in mind this is all my opinion, so let me know your guys' rankings in the comments below, and also let me know if I should make a fan-made Book 5 animatic. If there's enough interest in that, I may end up doing it. With that out of the way, let's begin. Starting off our list, we have Book 2. Book 2 follows MT, or Lake, as she helps a passenger, Jesse, get his number to 0 while also trying to leave the train herself, all while being hunted down by the persistent Flex. This book was really good, but in a series that is what I consider to be one of the best animated series of all time, it takes the bottom spot on this list. A weak point for this book was that the villain's motives aren't really as deep as in other books. For example, Amelia and Simon both had their motivations rooted in realistic and relatable problems, while the Flex motivation to kill MT was just because it's their job. A strong aspect of this season was the characters and MT's unique problem. Also, Jesse and MT were gold whenever they were on screen together, and could be argued as maybe even the best dynamic between protagonists in the show. MT's existential crisis was also a really unique and deep problem to look into and to try to overcome, and I give the team behind Infinity Train props for that. Like I said, Book 2 was really good and I loved watching it. It just isn't as good as the other 3 books in my opinion. Alright, at spot number 3 we have Book 4. This book was really different than the other 3 books that came before it, and was also more lighthearted. Not that being lighthearted isn't good, but the main problem with this book is that its central problem is really kind of insignificant as when compared to other conflicts in the previous books. Opposed to something like a parent's divorce or a murderous stigma against creatures on the train, the main problem is Min choosing to live a more stable life rather than join Ryan to live their dream. A cool, fun, unique problem, but it doesn't really hold as much emotional weight as the others. There also wasn't really a main villain, and it's pretty hard to make a compelling story without some prominent villain character to go against. Despite this, I thought that the book was the best at balancing everything Infinity Train wants to do. It had complex and likable characters, it added to the lore of the show, had emotional character moments, was funny, adventurous, mysterious, and has enough mature themes and moments to impact the story. You could convince me that Book 2 is better than Book 4, but right now I view it as just slightly better, which is why it sits at the number 3 spot. Number 2 is Book 1. Tulip's journey was a perfect way to start off the series. As she learned more about the mysteries of the train, so did we. Book 1 did a great job setting up the tone of the show, and it was full of lighthearted moments, but also had emotional and mature themes throughout. In my opinion, Book 1 is the most balanced book. I know I said Book 4 was, but looking back on it, I think Book 1 actually is the most balanced book, doing an excellent job of focusing on character development, individual cars, and the train as a whole, as well as the plot and adventures in each episode. If there were any weaknesses, it would be that the end feels a little rushed, but I don't blame anyone for that. They're trying to fit these stories into tiny 11-minute episodes, so they did a pretty good job with what they had. Overall, this book was what got me into the show, and I think it was remarkably well made, although not the best thing to come out of this franchise. Also, really quick, I think that Running Away might be the best track I've ever heard from an animated series. Okay, maybe not the best, but it's definitely one of my favorite ones. And Book 1's soundtrack overall was just really impressive. So you've probably figured out by now what the number 1 spot is, and that is none other than Book 3. Where to even start with this one? The characters are probably the best the series has produced so far, and the way that each of them has a compelling character arc throughout is really impressive. Simon is easily the best villain the show has had, and Grace is up there for best protagonists. The cars were interesting, the story was the best out of any of the books, and had the darkest moments in the show. It definitely was the most mature book, and that helped it really stand out from most animated media that's considered for kids, even though the show, we all know, really isn't. If there was any problem with Book 3, it was that the cars kind of took a backseat to the characters, more so than usual, and I feel like I hardly remember those settings when compared to the other books, but that's not really a problem. Considering how well of a job they did with the characters themselves. Speaking of characters, there are so many things this book did right that I can't go over them all in this short amount of time, so I want to focus on what I think was the strongest aspect, which was the character development. Grace and Simon had probably the most complex emotions in the show and had some relatable issues to get over. But what really did it for me was their connection when on screen together. They had probably the best dialogue in the show, and it was really a good time whenever they were on screen. Their choreography was really good together. On a Western animated show, you don't ever see a good but conflicted character like Simon actually give in to the dark side of his personality and ultimately have to die because of it. Stuff like that just doesn't happen. And so a shocking but perfect ending was the icing on the cake for what I consider to be the best season Infinity Train has to offer so far. But let's hope that the show gets renewed and we will hopefully get all 8 books. The series has proven to be revolutionary, and I think it could be a pioneer in the realm of teenage to young adult animation. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you like the video, and continue to support Infinity Train, especially on April 29th, and support my channel. Have a great day.